officially in the Kruger National Park, and welcome to you. Thank you for tuning in, for downloading, for streaming, for subscribing to this podcast. It's the Sandton Times podcast on tour again, and we've been traveling around South Africa, seeing what's happening in local tourism. It's been absolutely fantastic getting to see how the country is reawakening its tourism sector, and we've still got a way to go, but it's great to see that things are hip and happening. If you want to get in touch, don't forget you can email editor@sandtontimes.co.za. You can get in touch on Telegram or social media using @Sandton Times. You can also visit the blog www.sandtontimes.co.za, and you can subscribe, share, and leave a review or rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, and of late Overcast. So we got added to Overcast, so there's another platform that you can get this on. And as always, you can also go onto YouTube, especially now with our On Location podcast, which is really great. And you can actually see where we are. You get a bit of a feel for the place. We've set up multiple cameras who can give you different perspectives. And this is a particularly scenic place that we are today, but I'll give you some more information in a few minutes. Welcome to all our listeners in Greater Sandton and beyond, and also our international listeners, which is so exciting now that the borders are opening up. I think people are more and more interested in coming to South Africa, so they're listening in. They want to find out what's happening in Sandton, what's happening beyond Sandton. So a special welcome to our listeners in Greece, in Qatar, the United States, and also the UK in the past week. All is well in Sandton land, and as you know, when we're back at home, when we're back in our studio in Sandton, we are fueled by DeLonghi coffee. That's what keeps us going, keeps the energy levels high. So whilst we're out and about, unfortunately, we don't have access to our DeLonghi coffee machine, but there's an exciting competition that they're running, and I want to encourage you to be part of it. It's on social media. It's a campaign that they're running where you could win a Perfecta Evo Bean to Cup coffee machine. All you have to do is take a selfie of yourself with a milk mustache. You know that beautiful, creamy, foamy milk on top of a cappuccino or a latte or a however you drink your coffee. You know when you've got that beautiful milk at the top and then you take a big sip and then you've got that beautiful mustache. Take a selfie. It could win you a machine. Share it on Instagram and tag and follow @DeLonghi_SA. That's DELONGHI_SA. And you say also use the hashtag CoffeeLabSA. The closing date for entries will be 20 November 2020, just before midnight. But don't wait that long. Do it right now. Whilst you're in the vibe, whilst you're in the mood, while you're thinking about it, listening about it, make yourself a quick cup of coffee while you're listening to this podcast, or a cappuccino. Get that milk mustache, take that selfie, upload it, and you could be in line to win this Perfecta Evo Bean to Cup coffee machine. You won't regret it. As mentioned when we started this podcast, we're back on the road with our mobile studio for an extended tour of some great destinations, and we've already brought you some fantastic ones. We've been to Delstrom, we've done Sun City, we've done the Maslow Hotel in Sandton, which was last week, and we want to get a first-hand feel of what local travel and tourism is looking like. What are the locations looking like? What are the destinations looking like? Are they still there? How are they operating? How is everyone managing with all the protocols around COVID-19? Is it safe? What has changed? Well, we're hoping to uncover all of this while we're touring around. And as I say, if you're on YouTube, make sure you get on there. It's actually one of the best ways of listening to this podcast because you get to watch. And what's so fantastic right now is, we're right next to this infinity pool, broadcasting from the terrace of Imbali Safari Lodge in the Kruger National Park. So if you've got ambient sounds around, if you're listening, well, that's why you're hearing all these things in the background. If you're watching, well, as you can see, we've got a fantastic view of the elephants and other animals that are coming to the watering hole right a stone's throw away across the river from where we're sitting, and it's just absolutely amazing. It's one of probably the most beautiful places for us to broadcast from. It's been so exciting setting up here, watching all this amazing wildlife unfold in front of us. This next episode is just going to be so interesting. It's visually just so beautiful. So I encourage you to watch it on YouTube, and as I say, also listen to it. Let's kick off this podcast. Let's get to our first guest for this week.
Well, sitting right opposite me this week is General Manager Julia Keates. She looks after Imbali Safari Lodge, Hoyo-Hoyo and Hamilton's tented camp. Julia, thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you very much for visiting.
We're sitting on this fantastic pool deck that you've got, watching elephants drinking from a watering hole, which is just unbelievable. And if you're sitting and listening to this somewhere else in the world, I know this is something that you couldn't actually imagine. It's just such a fantastic African experience to be able to sit here. There must be at least sort of 10, 15 elephants with their little ones drinking water. We're sitting on the pool deck. We're having a chat. Julia, what's it been like reopening again after such a long lockdown?
It was difficult in the beginning. Lots of cleaning up, lots of tidying up. But to have the staff back and the guests back, it's nice. It's uplifting. The staff have come back with such a renewed passion for what they do. And yeah, it's just nice to see everything going back to some kind of normal.
And you're getting the support? I mean, at the moment it's very much South African visitors.
Yeah, at the moment with the international borders that are still closed, we run a lot of specials now for South Africans. So most of our clientele are South Africans, busier over weekends. Obviously most South Africans work during the week, but yeah, we're getting there.
Well, it's not just Imbali that's busy at the moment. I mean, you look after all three of the different properties and they all have a very different look and feel. Are you finding that all three of them are quite busy at the moment?
Hamilton's is particularly busy, but we're used to that. Hamilton's is normally always much busier than the others. Imbali is more family orientated, so it's nice to have the kids back and listening to kids running around on the decks. And then Hoyo is more your traditional style camp. So it takes, I suppose, a different kind of person to go and stay at Hoyo. It's more the relaxed, more African-style theme camp.
And you were locked down in the bush?
Yes.
What was that like?
Fantastic. No guests, no vehicles, just you and the noises. Staff village, there was only myself and Greg staying up at the staff village. It's fantastic.
And what did you find a lot of interesting things happening while it was so quiet around camp?
A lot of people had this false thoughts that the animals would come out and lie on the road, and it wasn't like that. It wasn't at all like that. It took us a long time to see lion. I think we saw our first lions here about 2 weeks after lockdown, and then we didn't see again for 3 weeks. So it wasn't just because there was no noise around here that everything came out to say hello.
The giraffes didn't take over the bar, or no?
Didn't lay their eggs in the trees.
So how long have you been doing this for? How long have you been at Imbali Safari Lodge?
At Imbali, we started here in 2015, so we've been here for 5.5 years now.
And what's your career been like? I mean, have you seen the industry grow? Have you seen more international visitors come over that time?
Definitely. The industry just keeps growing, doesn't stop. This special kind of attraction for Kruger. I don't know what makes people want to come to Kruger all the time, but Kruger is one of the parks I know that is always full.
Have you found that a lot more people are looking to come again in 2021? Are you seeing international bookings coming through?
Definitely. A lot of our guests that were supposed to come during the whole lockdown effort, most of them actually postponed their bookings. So we've given them time to come back in 2021, and a lot of the bookings have already confirmed.
That's great news. It's good to hear. Yeah. What kind of people do you find typically come to all three of the different camps? Is it mostly families, mostly couples? Is it a honeymoon destination? Is it something that people just do sort of for a weekend getaway?
Most of the guests that we're finding now are celebrating. People celebrating birthdays. We've got a guest coming in next weekend. He's going to get engaged. So we've got lots of things that are going on. But most of them are here just to chill, to get away from Joburg, get away from the cities. But then there are those that are here celebrating, and then we have family gatherings where families are now able to visit with each other. And what better place to come and visit than to visit here?
Did you find that there was a sudden avalanche of people that were just trying to get out of their living room? They were tired of Zoom calls. They just needed to get out and just smell the fynbos again.
Yeah, even when we had our CEO here and we had our ops manager here, it was just the first time they'd seen the property since lockdown. So they were so lucky to have the sightings that they'd had while they'd been here, but even just to be back in the bush.
How have you adapted when it comes to COVID-19 as a business? It must have been initially quite daunting, but at the same time the bush does lend itself to a lot of space, a lot of distancing. You're not running a convention center where there's thousands of people coming through here. How's that changed your business?
I think for everybody, We were apprehensive when we first started. Even the staff were apprehensive. Once you start settling down and getting back into guests and everything else, although the staff are very good when it comes to wearing masks and stuff, the guests are enjoying it. And we keep everything as close to perfect as we can, whether it comes to COVID-19 and sanitizing and doing everything. But we also don't want to lose the standard that we have. There's special touches that we still do.
Yeah, you've put in quite a bit of, I suppose, the things that you've had to do regulatory-wise, but also kind of gone the extra mile on certain things, and I guess it's also something that you've been having to adapt to quite a bit as you go along, discovering that certain things don't necessarily work the way they should, and you've kind of had to kind of reinvent it. I mean, I see you guys have got a lot of sort of hand sanitizer stations, you've got sort of hand sanitizer wet wipes, all the staff are wearing masks. I mean, even the rooms, you've kind of also eliminated a lot of touch points, and it's quite funny when we were thinking about it, because we've done a lot of sort of travel features, and you look at certain things and you go, my goodness, how often did I have to pick that up or touch that or do something with that? And you never thought about it, and now I think we've become so conscious of it. And I mean, even like you look at the mini bar, you look at the coffee stations, all those sort of things have always been things that you've kind of used extensively. And I see you've got quite a sort of a rigorous sort of sanitizing process and plans that you've put in place. I must say, during the time we've been here, I haven't felt worried or scared or apprehensive to do anything or touch anything, because now, oh my goodness. And I think being outside also helps a lot.
It does. Here you've got the space to move. A lot of our guests are nuclear families, especially here at Imbali, and they tend to stay together and they stick to themselves, away from other people, and they're just here to have a good time. They're here to get away and to forget about what's happening outside.
Yeah, and I definitely get that sense while we've been here. You've got lovely rooms. I think you've got about 10 rooms, is it?
In Bali we've got 12.
12 even, okay.
Hoyo-Hoyo is 6.
Yeah.
And Hamilton's is 6.
And you've got, Imbali Safari Lodge specifically, you've got little plunge pools at each of the different rooms. I mean, for all intents and purposes, you could actually just come here and just live in your room, really. You've got your own pool. I'm sure somebody would bring you food at some point if you really got hungry.
For sure.
I mean, I've heard the chef, kind of whips up all kinds of incredible things whenever you want to. We're still going to chat to him as well. You kind of almost live in your own little sort of bubble if you wanted to.
Exactly.
I also find it always quite interesting. You always sort of advise that you shouldn't walk back to your rooms at night, and that's not because you've got some sort of inherent crime problem, but you might have a couple of animals that might come your way.
We have the occasional animal that comes to visit. A fence around a camp is here more for people as a security way of thinking, that it's secure. But you get the animals that are used to going through fences.
So you best phone somebody who will escort you with a torch. I remember some of the other places we've also stayed at, you come across the odd porcupine that goes missing, or owls that sort of sit in front of your door.
Yep.
Might have to have a quick peek before you go sleep. Quite an experience that not a lot of people from overseas are aware of, so that's quite a unique and exciting thing to do. It's been fantastic having you on, Julia Keates. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm looking forward to the rest of this podcast as we start unearthing a lot of the things that are going on, apart from our regular things that we go through. So thank you so much for having us for our on-location podcast.
Thank you very much.
Right, now let's get into our regular feature. It's time for stories making headlines in Sandton for this week. This update is brought to you by megaflightdeals.co.za, local domain.co.za, your one-stop for non-stop cheap flights. If you're looking to fly domestic or international, don't forget to check out megaflightdeals.co.za. They've always got great deals, and we'll always bring you those deals first on this podcast. Having a look at the stories that are making headlines in Sandton this week. Strike action at Cell C's head office. JC-listed Blue Label Telecom says it's seeking an urgent court interdict to stop members of the Information, Communication and Technology Union from protesting outside its headquarters in Sandton. Tech Financials reports the union has been protesting against retrenchments, parallel restructuring and recapitalization by Cell C, and the union represents about 1,300 members at Cell C. Other strike action underway also at the Gautrain. IOL reports Gautrain contingency plans continue to run smoothly despite some workers continuing their strike action for improved wages. Gautrain spokesperson, Kisagi Niaga, said Bumbela Operations Company, the Gautrain builder and operator, was pleased that the strike has not really affected measures put in place to assist commuters. Since the start of business in the morning, trains have been operating according to our contingency plan and with no disruptions. During the peak periods, trains will be available every 15 minutes on both the north, south and east-west lines. During the off-peak period, trains will be available every 30 minutes on both lines. The bus services are unaffected by the strike and continue to operate according to the standard schedule, she said. Employees affiliated to the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa, NUMSA, are demanding an 8% wage increase against the company's proposed 4.1%. The Rea Vaya may one day be ready. The executive mayor of the city of Johannesburg, Councillor Jeff Makubo, has assured residents that the construction of the Rea Vaya Phase 1C will be completed on time amid delay caused by the COVID-19 lockdown. The mayor said this at the Watt interchange during an oversight tour this week as part of the Transport Month program. The Watt interchange forms part of the Rea Vaya bus rapid transport system. Phase 1 includes the Section 8 trunk route from Sandton to Alexandra along Rivonia and Catherine Drive. The 343 million rand project is part of the city's plan for residents and students to live closer to public transport facilities to allow for easier and quicker access to the city. And Sandton Central's launched its new closed-circuit television system. So Sandton Central Management District state-of-the-art system uses artificial intelligence to detect and respond to specific events. When an incident is spotted, it sends an alert to a central control room, and a real-time video feed enables control staff to take the best possible action. This could mean reporting a broken traffic signal, alerting the emergency services to an accident, or calling law enforcement to an incident is all possible with this CCTV camera setup. The launch of the system follows a 3-month pilot to test its 111 cameras covering the public spaces and transport network of South Africa's cosmopolitan business capital in order to maintain safety and security and prevent crime. Testing began in May 2020 during the COVID-19 lockdown period when Sandton Central was operating far below its usual pace. This created an ideal opportunity to familiarize the entire team with the system and to ensure the correct response in the right instance. There are 3 elements to the system, with the first being the camera feed. Vumicam is the partner responsible for installing and powering the cameras and connecting the CCTV surveillance infrastructure to the monitoring center. The CCTV cameras only capture information relevant to law enforcement investigations. In line with the POPI Act and other regulations, strict measures are in place to ensure privacy, so only those legally authorized can view footage. So if you're driving around Sandton and you see these cameras at all the different intersections, that's where it all belongs. And then finally, someone has won 121 million rand in Powerball. News 24 reports a Free State man has claimed his 121 million rand Powerball winnings. He says he checked his winning ticket about 30 times to make sure he had won. He plans to donate some of his winnings to his church and provide more work hours for his house helper and gardener. The winner bought his ticket at the Belvera supermarket in Bloemspruit, Bloemfontein. The winner, who is left with only a few years before retirement, has opted to stop working immediately. Well, good for you. I also would probably stop working at 121 million rand. Following the extensive financial advice Ituba provided, the new multimillionaire has decided to invest most of his winnings. Well, congratulations to you and enjoy your money.
All right, I'm joined by the man who's responsible for the incredible food that we've had here whilst we've been visiting. It's Group Executive Chef Reiz Ullah. Reiz, great to have you join us.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Reiz, tell us, what do you look after here at Imbali Safari Lodge?
Okay, Imbali Safari Lodge in Hoyo in Hamilton.
So that's all 3 lodges you look after?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we look into basically the food, presentation, training the staff, and liaising with the guest on arrival in the special dietary. Also one of them that we offer our client when it's come to dietary from A to Z, basically.
Goodness.
That can be.
That must be the elephants in the background.
Yeah,
so if you just heard that,
yeah,
wasn't
right.
a hungry guest, that was the elephants.
Yes.
Having a bit of fun at the waterhole here that we're looking at whilst we're recording this.
Yes, no, that's stunning.
Do you ever get to get out of the kitchen and have a look at some of the animals that you guys have here?
Yes, I do. I travel between the 3 camps if I don't have a lot of dietary, I do with my orders and check all the food and everything is in order. Then I travel between the 3 camps. So it can be Hoyo, Hamilton. At least I visit to each camp maybe 3 times a week. And sometimes I base in Hamilton or Hoyo-Hoyo, depend on the clientels that have a very special dietary.
So
From
all food
criteria.
requirements
Yes.
in the middle of the bush, which is incredible on its own.
Yeah. Actually, if you look at the idea, we take the city, the dining experience, we bring it into the bush so the guest can experience what it's like in the bush to have the same dining experience what they're getting in the city. So we give them. For us, it's not just the guest to say, okay, they get a plate of food and, because they're in the bush. We put attention to details. We look at it. We go beyond. We have a good team. We go beyond the guest expectation to offer them everything they require, our best knowledge, and end of the day when they leave, they're satisfied. And then we have guests actually, they're coming, some of the guests actually come like maybe 3-4 times a year to come visit because they know the experience.
Let's talk about the different foods that you offer at the different camps. So it's Hoyo-Hoyo, it's Hamilton's, it's Imbali. How do the different camps differentiate in food, or is it all very much the same kind of menu?
Hamilton is more fine dining.
Okay.
And it's 4-course meal. And we're looking at to upgrade it a little bit more further to make it like 5 or 6-course meal. But is the times, we're moving forward. And Hoyo-Hoyo also, is a good atmosphere, is very cozy. And also because it's more, the theme is an African theme. So our dining experience is Africans. But we turn, the Western food and African food, we blend them together so they can get the experience what the guest's looking for.
Well, you've been cooking for over 20 years, I believe. Tell us a little bit more about your career.
Yeah, I've been a chef for 22 years. I studied in Pretoria, and then from there I was working for the Indian restaurant in Pretoria as well. Then from there I moved to a Greek restaurant. I work in the Greek restaurant. Then I start a partnership with a friend of mine, which is a Greek family. We started in Centurion, then I left. Then I went to UK, which I got the sponsor. So I was doing for the family, for the royal family. I was doing for them as well. And I worked a little bit for Gordon Ramsay.
My goodness.
Yes.
And what was that like?
Was tough, but I learned a lot from him. And then when I came back, then I joined 3 City Hotel groups. So I was managing Clifftop, Balmoral, in Jatinga, Country Lodge. And then I did the Camelot Spa group.
Yes.
Yeah, I was doing their dietary requirement for them as well. And after that, then I got the offer from FIFA. So I was the executive chef. I was responsible for all the dietary for the German national team.
Sehr gut.
Yes.
Sehr gut. What did they eat, sir? Was this while they were here during the World Cup?
Yes. I was the executive chef of their groups.
And what were they eating on a daily basis to make sure that they perform?
We look at basically, to the nutrient and stuff like that. Before the game, they will probably eat mostly like pasta and stuff, not fatty food. So because they can be more active and stuff. If they win the game, then we offer them chicken schnitzel and things like that. Yes,
yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So we did well, and I had a good recommendation and recognition from the German team, which is from their president. So it was a good feeling. And then...
And was the coach, Joakim, was he quite demanding in terms of what you prepared for the team?
Actually we was deal with them on the daily basis, which is we have every morning, we have a meeting and see what's the idea. But rather than that, he wasn't intervening too much in when it's come to the food side, because I know what to offer them and what their dietary. Then we also have a department of health, which is every meal that we serve, they have to test it before that meal to be served to the players.
So there's no sabotage in terms of...
No, every single meal, they will come here, they will take a temperature, the food, check hygiene, then they do their report, then they test the food before we serve. And then they go ahead to say, okay, now we can serve the players.
Coming back to your origins, you also from Middle Eastern heritage, are you?
I was born in Afghanistan.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yes. Yeah, but sort of I grew up in South Africa and UK.
How's your life changed from a career perspective since the lockdown happened, since COVID-19 happened? How's that impacted the way you cook, the way you present your food?
Okay, before the lockdown, especially most of the breakfast in continental breakfast at Imbali, in Hoyo, in Hamilton was a buffet. Especially in Bali, we had hot also as a buffet. The only stuff basically we serve from the kitchen, like omelette-wise and poached eggs and stuff like that. The Hoyo in Hamilton, they always plated. So we have to twist things around and train the staff so that from the continental to the hot meal, everything have to be plated and have to follow the correct procedure in terms of the COVID-19 protocol, which is we make sure the plates, everything gets sanitized and get the correct temperature, so that for us it's not just to say, okay, it's our job. For us is our priority, and we take the responsibility for our staff and for the guests to make sure that they're safe and our staff safe and we're working in the safe environment.
I also noticed that the dining experience, diners are spread out on this beautiful deck that you have overlooking a swimming pool, overlooking the watering hole where the elephants are busy having an absolute fantastic afternoon. So you don't feel like you're on top of other people, you're not too close to other people. I mean, this is the beauty of being in the bush, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, we like what I stated earlier, we're also looking at, because we try to keep our distance from the guests and from our colleagues, which is minimum that we can do it. 1.5 meter to distance. Even when we liaise with the guest, we make sure their safety is become our priority.
Well, you've also got, I see the team is all wearing masks. You've also got sanitizing stations where people can sort of sanitize their hands. So it seems like you've really gone as far as you can without impacting too much on the experience, but still making sure that everyone's got a sort of a healthy environment.
Which is important when it's come to in terms of hygiene. When it's come to even auditing and stuff, we do it ourselves. Unless the company come and do the every 2 years or every year the audit. But rather than that, we on top of our game. We make sure that cleanliness and we follow the right procedure, everything is in order. Personally we check our expiry goods, fresh goods. We take the temperature of the cold room, the meat, when was came and when used and stuff like that.
Well, take us a little bit behind the scenes. I mean, now that lockdown has happened, what we've also heard across the board is that obviously a lot of industries, a lot of businesses had to stop trading. It must have made it quite difficult now to kind of get your supply chains up and running again. Is it difficult to get certain product at the moment?
Yeah, yes, was quite challenged. We came basically when the government announced that that our industry can resume to the certain restriction that they implemented and stuff. Yes, surely when I came weeks before to placing order and stuff. Yes, was challenges with the supplier because they don't have enough stock, because the manufacturer also reduced the stock to minimum because what the government required. So yes, we was challenged, but we also play around with our food. We change our menu to make it basically everything plated, change the dishes. Sometimes we change the dishes on the daily basis because the product is not available in the market. Yes, it did affect us, but while we on top of our game, it didn't affect our customer service and our clientele because we give them what they want to. We changed the menu. We didn't come with the excuse to say, hey, we don't have in stock because of the supplier. So we make a plan. We change the menu. We draft a new menu to say, okay, that's available. They're happy, and even the guest, question to say, how can it possible that you guys make everything 10 out of 10? So for us, it's a good thing and it's a good credit, and we're doing very well when it's come to the guest compliment. They enjoy. So I haven't heard since I've been here, the guests complaining they're unhappy and stuff, because we're trying our best to go beyond expectation, not just because they pay their rates or the room or whatever, because we go do that extra mile so that we make sure that they're happy.
How has the South African demand for traveling now, because obviously you haven't got any international travelers right now, most of your visitors right now, almost all of them are South African. How's that impacted your menu? Have you found that South Africans are asking for different things than a lot of your overseas visitors would normally?
Actually, if you the menu basically, yes, we were catering even before the lockdown. We were catering for international in local, to accommodate them much as possible. But so far, we blessed. If you look at our clientele, they're local. Actually, they're enjoying. If they ask for something else that is not in our menu, actually we do for them. That extra to say, okay, we will do it for you, because that's what they required.
And are there any particular dishes from your home country, from your sort of region that you like bringing into the menu?
Not really. A reason being because we didn't have the clientels, the market or demand, to cater basically from our culture and stuff like that. But yes, we had a few last year, the beginning of last year, we had few Arab guests, which is they come from Saudi Arabia. We cater for them. We cater for them what the food they want, and they were satisfied. They were surprised basically because they said they're traveling in the park, in outside the park, and they were shocked to say, how can you manage that you give us in the bush basically the cuisine that we was looking for. He say I don't have words to tell you to say thank you.
Chef, you also do a gin stop in the bush.
Yes, we do at least once a week. Yeah, so we don't usually tell the guests that we're going to surprise them. And then when they do, normally the guides do every day the sundown. So the sundown, usually they do it each week or in different places. But once a week we surprise them. We set up in the middle of the bush, with a gin. And then all the week for all the 3 camps, usually they stop there and they have gin and have some snacks as well. And then we also specialize in our own gin. Basically, we infuse our own gin. Different flavor is up to 22 different flavors that we offer our clients.
And what makes these flavors unique? Is there anything that you use that you source from the bush?
We basically mostly we use like rosemary flavor or rose, in orange, in lime, in different various flavor. I infuse is for each gin is take me at least about a week to infuse and to get that flavor out of that the gin. So, and then also we flare it a little bit out in the bush and stuff. So if you check on our Facebook page, you will see it the different color in for them even to describe is they don't believe that can be possible, especially in the bush.
Well, what an experience. I'm a big gin drinker, and I think that sounds absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thanks.
Well, I must say, Chef, we've had a fantastic dining experience so far. It's been absolutely wonderful. I think the dishes have been very delicious. They've been beautifully plated. I think you've got a fantastic range of flavors. I mean, we even had a couple of dishes where you wouldn't think, you could do that much with it, and you've done a really great job. So thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. That is Group Executive Chef Reiz Ullah.
That's correct, sir.
And make sure that you say how's it when you come to visit Imbali, Hoyo-Hoyo, or
Hamilton Camp.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Time for a quick break as we come to an end of part 1 of episode 28, week 41. We've got some great interviews from Imbali Safari Lodge lined up in part 2. Stay tuned, and you're listening to the Sandton Times podcast.